watch was left at the foot of the bed and a backyard floodlight was destroyed. Investigators tell us those details are accurate. And the sheriff says labs across the country are working to untangle a mixed sample of DNA from as many as 4 people, and they're not giving up trying to trace those notes.
The Department of Homeland Security announced Friday it has blocked 43 Chinese companies from having their products enter the United States because they're accused of using slave labor in China. This is a decision of the Homeland Security's Forced Labor Enforcement Task Force. I'm Brian Clark, ABC News.
If you haven't switched to Pure Talk because you're not sure their coverage is every bit as reliable as Big Wireless, why not take them for a test drive? For a limited time, Pure Talk is offering any of their plans for just $15 a month for the first 3 months, including their top-tier unlimited data plan. No contracts, no commitments. Just a great deal on a high-speed network with unlimited data from an American wireless company. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and let the savings begin.
Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your live and local St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Aaron Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services, financial planner and wealth manager, and I'm joined this week and every single week by my dad, Jeff Lapidus, wealth manager and retirement coach, and my husband, Robert Markham, our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
Good morning.
Good morning, babe.
We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan with several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate.
Second is to provide an income stream they can rely on so they can do all the things they want in retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their healthcare needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, without Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron, Rob, and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Gang, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And good morning to everybody out in Radio Land. Thanks so much for taking your time and tuning in with us. We've got 2 hours of fun and excitement. You know why it's fun and exciting?
Because we're here.
That's right, and we're live and local, and we'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And while we're waiting for your calls and texts, we do want to remind you that there are lots of ways you can keep in touch with us during the week.
That's right. You can log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click on the Contact Us button and request a coaching session, financial, Medicare, or both. Or you can click on the pop-up boxes that appear that say sign up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner, and today happens to be the first day of August, which means we have a brand new newsletter.
We do indeed. And in our August 2026 Coach's Corner, we got some great articles that you're sure to love. The first one being, will CapEx pave the way to an AI-powered future? The news was inundated with company earnings this week, and not far from everyone's mind was AI spending, commonly referred to as CapEx, or capital expenditures. Google and Meta plan on spending heavily this year, as our newsletter points out, at current trends, over $5 trillion in new investment could be needed by just 2030 alone. And when we think about the AI ecosystem, as it were, there's three stools to it. There are the hardware companies themselves, your chip designers, the companies that run the large language models. That's one segment. Second segment, we have the energizers. And those are the companies that are going to provide the voracious appetite for energy that these AI firms require. And the third leg of that stool is going to be your real estate developers, your building designers, and everything having to do with the actual physical construction of the data centers themselves. And when you put all that together, it's not hard to see why such capital is required to build out all of this new infrastructure. Very interesting article, one that I'm sure you'll return to again and again because it's going to be in the news going forward, probably a lot more. And our next article, Test Your Knowledge of Estate Planning. If you've listened to our show for any length of time, you know how much emphasis we put on making sure that your important documents are titled correctly so that assets pass seamlessly to your descendants and your beneficiaries. And there's a nice little quiz that the newsletter throws in there, and we've got some great questions to test your knowledge. And I thought this morning we would focus on what is the purpose of a durable power of attorney. And some of your choices could be A, to guarantee that an estate will not be taxed, B, to provide instructions for funeral arrangements, C, to designate who will inherit an estate, or D, to grant someone the authority to act on your behalf if you become incapacitated.
Man, wouldn't it be great if the durable power of attorney guaranteed the estate would not be taxed? Wouldn't it be great?
That would be...
That would be an incorrect answer, but a cool one. I think the answer is to grant someone the authority to act on your behalf if you become incapacitated.
Absolutely. Very, very important. And even if all your assets are titled in a way to pass seamlessly to your beneficiaries through either a POD or a TOD designation, it's always a great idea to make sure that your medical directive and your durable power of attorney, those documents are in good order. And our next article, New Job or Retirement, Take Control of Your 401k. Maybe you're leaving an old job for a new one. Maybe you're retiring. What do you do with an old 401k, 403b, or 457 plan? Our next article walks you through some options to consider, and I'll just briefly go over a few. You can roll it over to an IRA. You can do that. Or if you're starting a new job with a new employer with a company plan, you might be able to, depending on if the plan allows, to consolidate that old plan with your new plan. And, of course, you could leave it with your old employer. You could do that if you have more than $7,000 invested. A little ad there. And our last article, Helping Protect Your Child's Identity in a Digital World. I didn't realize this, but 10 million children are victims of identity theft. And because they don't have credit histories to exploit, that makes them easy targets. And because they're so young, the theft can go on for decades before it becomes known because, the child doesn't have credit history that they're constantly monitoring. So this is really a call to arms, and there's a couple things that parents can do. Well, actually, there's a lot of things you can do. I'm going to run through a few of them real quick. Limit online info. Very important. Secure sensitive documents. You don't want those floating around the internet. Monitor online activity. Very important. One that I highlighted, freeze their credit. They shouldn't have no one should be running credit checks, so freezing that credit doesn't enable anyone to open up any credit lines in their name, so certainly would be helpful. Be vigilant. This is something that, unfortunately, in the new environment we're in, we're going to have to stay on top of. And, of course, leverage technology to do all of the above. And that is your August 2026 newsletter in a nutshell. And just as a reminder, we do keep the last 12 to 24 months on the website, so you can go there and peruse them, download them for your viewing and reading convenience.
Rob, we appreciate that. And again, it's fun to do, easy to access. Just go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Just about every page, you can click on it.
That's right.
And sign up for our newsletter. We're happy to send it to you every single month by email.
That's right. They went out this morning, 6 a.m.
The new electronic way, as they say.
That's right.
And as a reminder, all of our clients are folks like you. They're our listeners. They're 55 and older. They would like to retire, or they're already retired. And as Aaron mentioned, our goal is to create for them a fun and hopefully financially successful retirement. And while we're waiting for your calls again and your text at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line, Aaron, I know that you wanted to share with us a part of a coaching session you had with one of our clients earlier this week.
Well, this is great because we had a couple clients come in. They've been with us for over a decade now, I think. Been retired for just that amount of time as well. And they came in and said, Aaron, we want to talk about a Roth conversion. And I said, okay. And they said, oh, we thought this was going to be a fight. I was like, duh.
You didn't usher them into your office? Like, oh, we got to sneak you in here and where no one can hear.
Right, got to be quiet in the cone of silence. No. I said, oh, well, you're in luck since I'm here and not Dad to have this conversation.
Well, I think what's curious, I know you're going to go in details in a moment, is that, you know, one of as our clients' financial planners and advisors, we are also their part-time accountants.
Yes.
And though we don't prepare tax returns, and we certainly never, at this point, we don't have any interest in doing so, we're always doing the income, i.e. tax planning for clients during the year. And the question about, you know, can I do a Roth conversion? There are a lot of variables that are involved here, Aaron, and I thought that this example was one that was really good and something that you would certainly want to share with the rest of our listeners.
So what I said, we could always consider a Roth conversion, but we're going to have to run those income numbers for you, and that's something that I'll do after our visit. So essentially what I constructed was a rough estimate of what their income will look like for this year. I had them send me their 2025 tax return so we could take a look. They let me know where some of the changes have arisen. And so with that, I was able to send back to them earlier this week basically a breakdown of what their income is going to look like for the year. So taxable interest, they'll have $30,800 worth. Ordinary dividends, about $46,000. Both, actually, the husband and wife, but only the husband is RMD eligible at this moment. So they had about $29,700 of required minimum distributions that we did not donate to charity. So they already donated a chunk. We assumed they were going to take the rest home with them. So $29,700 was added to their income total. They have about $58,650 of taxable Social Security. Based on their other income, we know 85% of Social Security is taxable, 15% is not. And then they had some additional income. They are minority owners of a business and get annual distributions. They project that's going to be about $18,000 for the year. So the total came to $183,562 of income. So I rounded some of those numbers up a little bit to create a buffer, and the only assumptions that I made inside of these numbers were I bumped up the Social Security just a bit because I knew that there was a cost of living adjustment from their tax return last year, and also we just rounded up on the dividends and interest just to make sure that we created a little bit of space, because we know that we have more than one bracket to consider when we're looking at a Roth conversion, especially with income that's about $183,000. So first thing we looked at was we assumed that they were going to take the standard deduction. They took it in 2025, so most likely they'll be using it again this year. Standard deduction for a couple married filing jointly is $32,200. So subtract the standard deduction, and that leaves us with a taxable income of $151,000. Now, with all those numbers in mind, we know we've got $151,000 of income that is going to be taxable for the year. How much room do we have to consider a Roth conversion? The top of the 22% tax bracket is $211,000. So having almost $60,000 worth of space there. The Medicare Part B income adjustment bracket is $218,000. So again, we have a little extra space.
But not a lot.
Right. So the question really becomes, how much of a conversion would you like to consider? Because we can keep you in the 22% bracket with, about a $50,000 conversion. We would probably bring it down a little bit just to make sure that we're keeping because we cannot predict to the dollar what dividends and interest are going to be through the end of the year.
Yeah, you don't want to leave yourself short.
Exactly. Want to keep a little bit of a buffer. Now, of course, if you bump into the next tax bracket, so if we went above the $211,400, not all of your income becomes taxable at the next bracket. It's just that last dollar that goes into the next bracket.
So if you messed up by the calculations were off by $800, it's just the $800 that goes into that next bracket.
Exactly. Everything else, the tax system is progressive. So that means as we move through the brackets, you're getting the benefit of the previous bracket. So that's why you may hear that phrase that the last dollar is always the most expensive, because it ends up in the highest bracket. Now, they could consider saying we want to blow through that 22% bracket, because just like you said, Rob, worst case scenario, we've got
it's
a few
just
thousand.
that added amount that's going to be subject to it.
Exactly. But we really only have another less than $7,000 to go, because we don't want to go above the $218,000, because now not only are we going to pay taxes on the conversion, which we're in the 22% bracket right now, but then we will have 2 years from now a Medicare Part B adjustment, which is going to create another tax for them, essentially.
And that's really going to almost double their Medicare Part B premium, isn't it?
In this particular situation, I think what it will do and this is the issue, Medicare Part B adjustments are a little confusing, because you have to stay within the bracket this year to stay in the same premium bracket 2 years from now, but we don't know what the adjusted premium amount is going to be until we get there. So right now, it looks like it's going to be at least another $2,000 a year for if you bump into just the next bracket. So it's a tiered system. Now, unlike taxes, where you get the benefit of the previous bracket, if you move into the next Medicare Part B bracket, so if you get to $218,000 and 1 penny, you are now in the next bracket. Doesn't matter. You go over that threshold.
By a penny, a dollar, $10 doesn't make a difference.
Well, you're not done, but you're going to pay.
If it pays to stay under it if you can, if you want to.
Right. So then but that bracket's wide. So $218,000 all the way up to $274,000. So
they could convert a little bit more at 22% and still stay under that Part B IRMAA penalty.
They could, or they could say, you know what, we want to blow through the 22% bracket, and we care, but we want to do this. We want to do a larger Roth conversion. We're willing to pay. We'll blow through the 218 and go all the way up to $270,000 maybe.
Very patriotic.
Oh, but that would get you about $130,000 of Roth conversion if you really wanted to do that much. So my proposition was, why don't we stay under both brackets? We can do the about $50,000 to $60,000 conversion that you want. Now, if anyone else was doing the math on just the IRA distribution, our client has over $1 million in IRA assets as it stands. So if he'd like to do the additional conversion, and we were considering doing the conversion on his wife's because she's not RMD eligible yet, so we can start drawing down her IRA a little bit. She was not the primary breadwinner, so we could help to reduce or over the next couple of years nearly eliminate her component, her IRA, turn it into Roth, but we're still going to have the husband's over $1 million IRA. So I would say if you like the idea of the Roth conversion, this is something that should be done systematically and really not only taking into account your taxable income bracket, so your income tax bracket, but you really need to be mindful of the Medicare Part B brackets, because you're going to create taxes. You're going to create additional expense for yourself 2 years down the road. So I think we're going to talk about another client where it was having a different situation, but it was still related to Medicare Part B, in that he had quite a bit of income needs. None of it was Roth conversion related. And so that makes the conversation a little bit different. In my mind, Roth conversion is a choice, right? We're making the decision to do this. In some cases, having to expend funds, although it is a choice, sometimes it's the best of, not great choices. So we have to spend the money. How do we do it? In that example, we have to go through the first bracket, go above the $218,000. So does it make sense to try to maximize the year and only have the Medicare Part B adjustment one time, as opposed to, not being precise about it and having to deal with the Medicare Part B adjustment over multiple years? So there are a lot of reasons that it is very important that you're mindful of how you're making withdrawals from retirement accounts. Of course, there's expenses involved like taxes, but there's also additional expenses that you can incur that you want to be mindful of, because that can have a big impact on your projected plans for the future.
I think this illustrates the importance of, you want to sit down with someone before you just put it in your head that this is what I want to do, and I want to do it this way at this time.
Right.
No questions asked. I mean, you really
Exactly.
want to be strategic. You want to play the brackets. You want to operate through these things smartly, and for that, you're probably going to need a second opinion.
No question about that. And again, as you know, since I'm such a big proponent of Roth conversions,
A lover of them, truly. Yes.
What was running through my mind the entire time was $1 million IRA.
Mm-hmm.
First year for RMD eligible, you have to pull around 40.
Right.
We're talking about pulling 60.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just assume you did that.
Right.
What's the chance that we're just going to grow what we took out back?
Our goal would absolutely to be able to grow back a 4% withdrawal.
Well, that's number one. And then number two is, you're doing a $60,000 Roth conversion, you're looking at about $12,000 of federal income taxes associated with that conversion.
Sure.
If you don't have the cash, and we didn't discuss this with the client, we didn't have this discussion at this moment, we haven't had it yet. If they didn't have the cash to pay the taxes out of their pocket, naturally they would take it from the actual conversion. So it's not really a 60,000 conversion, it's really 48,000 conversion.
Well, good news, they came prepared for battle, because they thought it was going to be a real they thought it was going to be a longer conversation.
They were checkbook enabled. Okay,
they
I like that.
Yes, they had so in this instance as well, they had the cash available to pay the taxes when the tax bill was due.
So it's a true conversion. You're converting the true 60,000. That's great.
Right. And the other nice thing was, I said, okay, you say you have the cash, which is great, but what does that do to your liquidity when you pay the taxes? And in their case, because they weren't spending everything that was coming in, they have some nice cash reserves that they're going to be able to do this. But that's another thing to consider, which is, how are you paying the taxes? How does that impact your long-term liquidity? Because we don't want you to spend down your emergency fund to pay taxes for a Roth conversion, because that really puts you in a situation where most likely you will have to take an IRA distribution to cover an expense.
Honey, I'm thinking about this really.
Are you?
Yes, I am. Would you like me to start converting my IRA?
Yes.
Would you also be willing to pay the taxes on the conversion for me?
From your estate, yes.
Oh, I see. So you're making an assumption.
I'm going to deduct it from your pay.
Oh, so in other words, I'm paying for it.
As it should be. You earned the money.
No, Nanette.
No?
No. Can't see part. I mean, I don't like you and your sister enough. What can I tell you?
I have a new solution that makes everyone happy. We reduce your pay enough that you are in a low enough bracket that now the conversion is affordable.
Do I have to start eating ramen too?
No, you have lots and lots of Chef Boyardee in those closets.
Oh, you're right. I have stocked up.
You can come over for dinner. We'll pay
Hamburger
for
helper
that.
too. I like that.
No, we'll pay for dinner.
Oh, thank you. You're a wonderful child. What can
I
tell you?
appreciate it. Thank you.
Roth conversions are certainly something that is high on the discussion list.
Sure.
But I think you really need to ask yourself the question at the end of the day, is it worth it for me? And what's the real end purpose?
Sure.
Because for most of our clients, converting to Roth is primarily to create tax-free distribution to their children after they're gone. Otherwise, they don't use their Roths for income purposes, especially this particular client. They don't have a Roth. So they got to let it sit for 5 years.
Right. That's another piece of the conversation that we didn't have, and only because these clients happen to be in the bucket where they are not taking monthly distributions. So they're not in need of income, which meant that the 5-year lockup to them was inconsequential because they have funds elsewhere. They have RMDs they have to take that they're not really spending. They have income from, that the business that they're minority owners in. So they're in a unique situation in that they do have a lot of flexibility. They had the liquidity to pay for the taxes outside of the Roth. They don't need the income. They don't need income from the Roth. So in doing that conversion, they aren't locking themselves into a situation where they need the money and they would have to pay taxes on the growth even if they took it out, earlier. The other interesting, just as a side note, if we have some younger listeners listening, our clients had this question, which was, if we decided to do this over a couple of years because the wife is a few years out from RMD eligibility, so if we wanted to try to convert her Roth before we got to RMDs for her, when does the clock start? Is there a lockup each time you convert, so each contribution has its own 5-year, or is it from the first? And so in their particular case, because they're over 59 and a half, the opening of the Roth with a single dollar is where the 5-year clock starts. If you are under 59 and a half, each conversion has its own 5-year lockup. And the reason for that is because they don't want any clever ideas in which you converted to Roth and now you're trying to bypass the 10% under 59 and a half rule. So you do have to be careful if you're converting under 59 and a half. But if you're over 59 and a half, that's not an issue.
Interesting.
I read that rule separate and apart from this meeting relatively recently, and I thought it was interesting. The IRS really does have the time and money to come up with all of the way to close every loophole that you can think of.
Infinite resources,
Right.
Infinite time. So they give us the playbook, and we just have to stay within the 40-yard lines.
Well, and it's logical.
Sure.
That's the whole thing, is if you think it's not going to work, it probably doesn't. But
If you think you came up with a really clever scheme, talk to a professional.
But, these are conversations that we're having on a weekly basis with folks. And frankly, I think really, as Rob was pointing out, the main purpose of the story is it's difficult to know the math. It's difficult to also know all the rules. Working with someone that can assist you in both areas can help you come to, I think, a more clear conclusion.
Yep. And then also really just to round this out the way you started, Dad, which is a lot of times we are acting in the preparation of taxes because we have to know what the consequences of all of our decisions are. But the reason that I constructed this in an email for our clients is so he could pass it along to the accountant and say, take a look at this. Do you agree with these numbers? Because at the end of the day, the accountant is the one that's got the final documentation. So if he agrees with our math, then we have some latitude to make a decision. But with that being said, I know we have some text messages on deck. Why don't we take our first break of the hour, and when we get back, we'll be here to answer those.
So don't touch
This
that.
is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Louis, Alton, Valley Park, St. Charles, and the world.
Streaming live at KTRS.com.
St. Louis is a small town, and we all know it, especially Indoor Comfort Team. Since their beginning in 1979, Indoor Comfort Team Heating and Air Conditioning has served their neighbors with old-school honesty and integrity, fair and common-sense pricing, and fast, reliable service with real human support. When you call them, whether you need a second opinion or a whole new HVAC system, you'll get a real human being on the other line. No AI, no robot answering machines. From HVAC installation to repairs, even water heaters, Indoor Comfort Team will take care of you. And with summer already upon us, maybe it's time to get that air conditioner checked. Indoor Comfort Team takes care of our community because they're a part of it. Check them out today at indoorcomfortteam.com
or call 314-894-8200. Congress doesn't need more politicians. For nearly 30 years, Joan Von Dross dedicated her life to helping students learn, grow, and succeed. Now she's running for Congress to fight for lower healthcare costs, stronger public schools, and a more affordable future for Missouri families. Teachers solve problems. Politicians play politics.
I'm Joan Von Dross, Democrat from Missouri CD2, and I approve this message. Vote for me on August 4th.
Paid for by Von Dross for Congress.
Hi, it's Julie Buck to tell you about a trusted family business that I've been working with for years, Easter Fence and Deck. Chuck Easter and his family have been the go-to fence and deck company in the St. Louis area for more than 70 years. And when it comes to sunrooms, Easter Fence and Deck offers the top-of-the-line Better Living sunrooms that are absolutely spectacular. When it comes to fences, decks, and sunrooms, I would invite you to do what my family has done for years and trust the family-owned Easter Fence and Deck online at easterfence.com.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Welcome back to the show. It's 9:36 here on the Big 550 KTRS. Halfway through hour number one. We're here to answer your calls and your texts at 314-931-5877 or 84126. From the text line, Rob, I know that we have a few texts there, so we thank folks for their patience.
And our first texter of the day writes, are POAs and TODs pretty straightforward, or are they customizable or unique to the individual? Well, the form itself is pretty standard and straightforward, but how you customize it is going to be unique to you, who your beneficiaries are, where you want your assets to go, in what percentages, and some demographics about who you want to leave it to, birthdays, social security numbers associated with it.
Right. Powers of attorney can be more customizable in that you can designate certain powers to a person: full financial responsibility, limited financial responsibility. There are standard forms available, or if you're working with an attorney on an estate plan, they'll have a form available for you that they'll help essentially customize.
Yeah, I would think it's fair to say that you can typically have more than one transfer on death beneficiary, but generally you only have one POA at a time.
Right.
And our next texter writes, can I call today to set up a coaching session, or do I need to wait till Monday?
You certainly can call today. You'll get our voicemail and you will hear from Kelly on Monday morning. So if the mood strikes, don't hesitate. We'll get back to you open of business on Monday, probably around 10 a.m.
314-863-0008.
And our next texter has a comment, and he writes, everyone should create a Roth ASAP, even if they only fund it with $100 to start to get that 5-year clock moving.
I mean, if you're able to. If you open it with $100 in a couple of years, it's going to be eaten up because every
custodial fees.
Every custodian has a custodial fee. So you do want to be careful about that, because now you're just paying to have it open.
This is a very good question. So let's do the opposite of the question. Not that
don't open a Roth.
No, not. I'm not saying don't open a Roth,
okay.
But let's talk about who can't open a Roth.
Oh, interesting. That's a good idea.
So I was visiting with some clients the other day. and they were over the age of 65.
Okay.
Both are retired.
So no earned income.
No wages.
Okay.
And they're like, yeah, Jeff, we have this money. Can we put some, can we make Roth contributions? The answer is no. You only can make Roth contributions if you have earned income, earnings, wages.
Now, conversions are different.
Right.
If you're wanting to convert from IRA to Roth, you don't have to have earned income.
But a conversion is not a contribution.
Correct.
It's actually considered a conversion. So when we think about, so let me give a different example if I can.
Mm-hmm.
And you know about this coaching session because you were in another meeting the other day, but you know this particular client. We have several clients that live on the other side of the river in Illinois, and many of them are landlords.
Yes.
They own multiple. A lot of them own multiple homes, which they rehabilitate, turn into rental properties.
We also have some farmers that rent their land out to be farmed on.
Absolutely. And in this particular case, this client of ours told us that his spouse had been a stay-home mom forever. Really had not been contributing at all to Social Security. But she did assist him, especially she was the primary bookkeeper for keeping the business, keeping the et cetera. Now, we call it the business, but it actually isn't a incorporated business.
But she's still doing all the bookkeeping in terms of paying the mortgages on the properties, seeing the rental incomes coming in, what expenses are going out, all of those things. Okay.
And his question to me was, well, Jeff, I like Roth, and I've done, before I met you, I've been doing some Roth conversions.
Right.
And I'm thinking maybe I'd like to start making some Roth contributions for myself and my spouse. Said, okay, that's a cool idea. So let's talk about what is your current earned income. Well, unfortunately, his earned income was over the permissible Roth limit.
Also, he has access to a retirement plan at work.
Right. And therefore, what happened was he couldn't make a contribution for himself as a Roth, to an individual Roth. If he had a Roth 401k or 457 option, he could have done through work. But he also wasn't eligible to then do one for his spouse or for his child. So what I suggested to him was, why don't you talk to your CPA and ask him or her whether it would make sense for you possibly to form an LLC, a company.
For the rental properties.
Exactly, as a management company for the rental properties. Your wife's working, you're just not paying her. Maybe you should start thinking about paying her, which could do a couple of things. Number one is she could begin to accrue Social Security benefits.
Right.
That's a plus.
And also there was a very large age difference in their ages. So what happened was, she needed 40 cover quarters to be fully paid in for A, so that when she was eligible for Medicare, she wouldn't get killed on having to pay a Part A premium.
Well, luckily for her, she was married to a guy that already had the 40 quarters. So,
exactly.
So she has the eligibility to claim off of her spouse, but not everybody has that opportunity. So if you have someone in your life that is not paying into Social Security, if there's a way to help them do that, just like in this instance, it's important to do that.
So, I asked him two questions. I said, number one, are you paying federal income taxes?
Yes.
And number two, can your child, and by the way, his child is, 10 years old, can they hold a broom?
Old enough to lean, old enough to clean.
Exactly. And are they helping you now? And the answer is yeah. They're both, my wife, my child were both. Well, if you were to form a company, we could also install what's called a simple IRA. You pay them wages, which helps them get into Social Security, obviously. Number two, you could defer up to, I think it's almost $15,000 a year.
Plus a catch up now.
Exactly.
You're older, but they're not in that position, but eventually.
Right. And his daughter obviously could put it up to like 10 or 12, whatever it would be. Bottom line is they could defer a lot more money, wipe out the federal income taxes. Now they're going to have to pay a little bit of FICA, which is fine.
Which will hopefully be less than the income taxes they were paying.
And their daughter's going to get it back anyways.
How's that?
Well, because she's young.
Oh, right. So she'll get a tax return.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. She'll get it back. So the bottom line is that you could kill several objectives, but the problem was he still, unless he had an entity or unless somebody had income and wasn't covered by a company plan and under the limits. Number two, that's a reason why you can't make a Roth contribution.
Right. Correct.
So it's all about earned income. If you don't have earned income, whether it's part-time wages or full-time wages, no Roth. If you do have part-time income, you can make a Roth contribution up to 100%
of what you earned.
Right, or the Roth limit.
Whichever is lesser.
Exactly. And we've seen situations where that would occur as well. So,
and that's also true if you are working part-time but you want to do a spousal contribution.
There you go.
Your two contributions cannot exceed the wages earned, so you can't double up.
Man, you're smart.
No, we learned that from another question.
Exactly. So the rules are straightforward. I don't want to say that they're tricky, but again, everybody's situation is a little different. So you really need to put these down on paper and see, hey, what are your options available to you?
Well, this is a great
way to go.
And this is a great example of using the rules to your benefit.
Right.
This was set up in a way in which he could, our client did have the opportunity to take advantage. He just needed a little help and also some additional guidance from the accountant. Does this make sense based on what the business has been doing over the past decade plus? We only have limited information, so we start with this suggestion and take it to another professional on the team, so to speak, to kind of round everything out. And also help administer, because I believe their accountant was also not the bookkeeper like the wife, but really the payroll administrator, so to speak.
Certainly. And so playing these things out to their logical conclusion, I think is important.
Sure.
And as Aaron was saying, getting other professionals, if needed, to be involved would be important. And, obviously, if you're forming an LLC, you need a lawyer.
Also true, you need somebody to drop the documents. So sometimes it takes a village.
There you go.
But with that in mind, why don't we take our second break of this hour? And I think we have some more text questions to get to.
We do. So stick around, and we'll be back right after these brief messages.
This is KTRS St. Louis, the Big 550, and KTRS.com.
Hey, St. Louis, this is Zippers Up. I'm getting ready to MC the Mater Media Speaker Series. Woo, we're bringing in some big names: Bill O'Reilly, Cardinal Timothy Dolan, John O'Leary, other national personalities. We're going to be at the J. Scheidegger Center for the Arts, Lindenwood University, beginning in September. Go to matermedia.org. That's matermedia.org. Early bird pricing going on now. Don't wait. Tickets are going fast.
You know that honeydew list isn't getting any shorter, and you got to make a dent into it. Can I recommend going somewhere to helping you out? Schnarr's Hardware. Schnarr's Hardware has two locations, one in Webster and one in Ladue. One great family, two great hardware stores. Schnarr's Hardware. When you walk in with that list, you say, okay, I think I know how to do this one, but these three I need help on. And you know what? The people behind the counter at Schnarr's Hardware, that's what they do best. They have the expertise, so they can help you with electrical, help you with plumbing, painting, really anything at Schnarr's Hardware. They're small, they're compact, but it's that friendly neighborhood hardware store that has been the way it's been here in America for years, right? You remember when your grandfather took you to the hardware store. That's Schnarr's Hardware. The popcorn and the advice are free. So when you go to Schnarr's Hardware, two locations in Webster and in Ladue. Don't forget about the website, schnarrshardware.com. So for all of your hardware needs and that honeydew list, Schnarr's Hardware or schnarrshardware.com.
At Midland, we know sometimes all it takes is a moment for an idea to spark, or to make it happen, a moment to find your dream, or build one, a moment to start your forever, or at least start planning for it. Whatever moments you have, Midland is here for them and can help you make them. Midland, brighter together. Visit us at midlandsb.com. Midland States Bank is member FDIC.
This is Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. 888-888-0008 or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Welcome back to the show. We've got about 10 minutes left here on hour number one. Our phone lines are open. Text lines are getting full. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the Rock and Roll text line.
And our next texter writes, I'm 65 and my financial advisor has estimated a significant required minimum distribution, over $200,000, when I reach age. I don't expect to need the money and certainly don't want the taxes or the hit on IRMAA. What are the options? Do we expect the tax laws to change in the next 5 years?
No. I don't expect the tax laws to change in the next 5 years, only because they just became codified this year, right?
I mean, if they do,
I would not bet on that one.
If they do change, it's probably going to get worse.
It would it would have to be through an act of Congress,
right,
and not to be political, but they haven't been able to agree on much at all. So I couldn't imagine taxes is where they're going to find common ground.
And I couldn't imagine if they did revisit the issue that we're going to give relief to the guy making over $200,000. Like, no.
No,
Can't imagine that.
Let's get down to the numbers here.
So
if the person is going to receive a $200,000 RMD,
that means they need $5 million inside of their IRA.
Any assuming they have I'm sure they have Social Security. They're already in they're already very, very, very close to IRMAA territory. So any conversion, which would really be one of the only other significant things they could do, would blow them to pieces. So the answer is probably no, and I know you're going to do some math on that.
Well, so
what I would though suggest is there's only one true thing you can do.
What's that?
Charitable contributions.
So here's the interesting thing, which is you make a good point, which is to start things off. If you are charitable in any way, or you plan to be over a long period of time, you might consider starting to send some of your IRA assets to a donor-advised fund. And we could talk a little bit about that. It basically, I would call it a holding vessel for charitable donations, because you get the deduction the year that you put the money into the donor-advised fund. You can never take it back, so you've given it away, but you haven't given it to a charity yet. So let's say, for this example, that our texter is going to put $100,000 into his donor-advised fund this year.
We're also saying he has 10 years until he actually is subject to RMDs. Is that correct?
Correct. So let's just say that he's going to move, just to get the DAF explanation out of the way. He's going to move $100,000 into the donor advised fund this year. He gets a $100,000 deduction on his taxes this year. The money is in the donor advised fund, and he gets to decide who and when he distributes the money to. It needs to be a 501c3 organization, but he gets to make that decision. When the money goes out from the donor advised fund, nothing happens because you already received the deduction.
But it will be invested.
Right. You also have the opportunity to invest it, so you could potentially be more charitable than you planned over time. The reason you want to start this part of the potential strategy now is because when you get to 75, which would be your RMD year since you were born after January 1st, 1960, you cannot move money directly into the DAF and have it count against your RMD. So if you want to start drawing down on your IRA assets a bit, you might want to front run your charitable donations, which will help you potentially bring down the value of the Roth a little bit. You do have 10 years to go. That would be one suggestion.
Well, what you're doing is you're making distributions, you're paying taxes, you're making contributions to your DAF.
You're not paying taxes on that though. You're getting a deduction.
Right. So you got it. So you got income, and then you got an offsetting deduction.
Right. Which
is cool. Which you can do until you're RMD eligible. In which case, then you have to stop. And this is the same road I've gone down.
Right. You started. I know you did it a little differently though, because you were donating highly appreciated security and getting a deduction versus just trying to get money out of the IRA account.
Well, right. Because the bottom line is, I would say reasonably that if you wanted to begin to do a conversion of a significant amount,
yeah.
Let's use a number. Let's say it's $250,000.
Okay, so
which is about 5% of the current asset value of the IRA.
Now that puts you into the next bracket for Medicare Part B premium increase, and then it also puts you into the 24% tax bracket. So $250,000 is 24%.
Yeah, what is it if your income's already $200,000?
Oh, if your income's already $200,000,
which I'm sure this person's is.
So that means we're at $450,000,
which is a 39% effective rate, not including the Obama tax. He's going to be at about
32%.
He's going to end up being close to 40. All in.
All right.
So you're talking about $250,000 of which you're going to owe $100,000 in taxes, unless you have the cash to pay it, which you may.
Sure.
Or you may throw up. Either way, or you may just not want to do it.
Well, here's the other issue, which is that and I think that this is something that we really can't do on the radio, because there is a lot of math involved in this, in the sense that if you start conversions now, which is what we are doing a very short math example on, any amount of conversion in your case is any amount of meaningful conversion in our texter's case is going to move them into, at minimum, the next Medicare Part B bracket. At worst, the top Medicare Part B bracket, which means now you've essentially, you said it was going to be about 40% all in. That wasn't inclusive of the Medicare premium adjustments,
which is doubled.
Which is doubling the premium. And if you're going to do this over consecutive years, that means we're going to have to factor in that adjustment over consecutive years. So it really does become a situation in which you really want to consider your options in terms of multiple strategies. Maybe it's a little conversion, it's a little donation. Maybe it's a little starting to consume some of the money inside of your IRA. Like, we're not just trying to get rid of it, we're trying to live off of it in some way. I would consider doing some of those things before we get to RMD eligibility. But the truth is, and Dad, you like to say this a lot, taxes are the price we pay for being successful. For having such a large IRA account, you obviously did a fabulous job saving, a fabulous job in your career. And the backside of it is just going to be a little bit more complicated, paying the taxes.
Titanic song.
Oh, goodness. No, I think that
seriously, look. You got a $200,000 requirement in distribution. Mm-hmm. If you add that to the rest of your income, maybe that's bringing you up to, if you're unlucky, maybe that's bringing you up to $300,000. You're looking at basically about a 20% effective tax rate across all that money.
Yeah, 24% is the marginal rate, so that's not so bad.
That's right. Versus 40.
40's bad.
40's bad, and then you don't even have the money, and then you're not even doing a full conversion of it because you didn't have the cash.
Also, why would you want to give your cash to the government like that? You're the liquid cash you already paid your taxes on.
You are my child, so I'm glad you agree with me.
I just think that if your also, my other suggestion would be, if your advisor pointed this out, did they also point out a plan in which they've devised or given some suggestions on how they might help mitigate some of the taxes down the road? I think that's an important thing to consider too.
Absolutely. We do have to be part-time accountants.
Sure.
But only part-time ones.
Of course.
Which is good. Next, do we have another? I think we have enough time for one more text, Rob. What do you think?
We do. And our texter writes, could you please repeat the issue on the rather complex situation you described, describing Roth conversions being above or below 59.5?
If you are over 59.5, the first dollar that you put into the Roth is when the clock starts for the 5-year lockup. If you are under 59.5, every converted dollar has its own lockup of 5 years, and that's to avoid anybody getting clever and doing the Roth conversions 3 days before they get to 59.5 and then having tax-free money to be able to pull out without the 10% penalty and all of that. So if you're under 59.5, just look up Roth conversion under 59.5 and it will show you those rules. If you're over 59.5, not complicated. As soon as you have $1 in a Roth, that's the day that the 5-year clock starts. And remember, the 5-year clock is only on the growth of your investments being non-taxable when you make distributions from them. So this doesn't mean that worst case scenario, if you needed to get to the Roth, it is still liquid. It's just not the way you intended it to be.
Because your contributions were after tax, so you don't have to repay taxes on stuff that's already after tax. It's only on the interest. Is it tax-free? The answer is not unless that Roth has been there for 5 years. And if you're in 59.5 SAR, you got to wait.
You got to wait.
Clock is on.
That's
the
right.
clock is on. And we've got about 30 seconds left in hour number one. I do want to remind everybody that if you are interested in visiting with Aaron, Rob, and I, or one of us, for a coaching session, easy to do. Give us a call, 314-863-0008. I mean, what's really fun is you come into our offices and all of that. We have the best coffee in town. We have free parking. It's easy. Lots of parking spaces. We own our own building. We're about 2 blocks west of I-170 at Olive, so very easy to get to, easy highway access. And frankly, it's just like you're on the show. First question we ask is, tell us about yourselves and how you hope we can help you. And that begins the coaching session. We look over your financial information. We create your game plan right in front of you on our 6 by 8 foot whiteboard.
No mysteries.
And the cool part is we save it. It's there forever. Easy to visit. Give us a call, 314-863-0008. Again, 314-863-0008. Or send us an email, Aaron or Jeff at jblfinance.com. See you next hour.
Mizzou football.
The rushing touchdown, and Missouri extends the lead.
KTRS AM, FM 106.1, K291CW, St. Louis.
ABC News. I'm Brian Clark. Tens of millions of people, mostly in the western United States, are dealing with potentially record-high temperatures, says ABC's Jacqueline Lee.
A growing heat dome creating perfect conditions for extreme wildfire behavior in the Pacific Northwest. Oregon, in the middle of what could be its worst wildfire season on record, burning more than 1.8 million acres. More than half the state facing severe drought-level conditions. The dangerous heat wave gripping the West and parts of the South, impacting nearly 58 million Americans from California to Montana and across portions of Texas and Florida.
As millions deal with heat, water supply systems were the apparent target of cyber attacks in Minnesota. Now there's an argument about who's responsible, says ABC's Gio Benitez.
President Trump is claiming that incompetence by Minnesota's government is to blame for coordinated cyber attacks on water systems across that state. The president did not provide any specific evidence for that, but authorities say that more than 30 plants were impacted. According to multiple U.S. officials, investigators are looking at whether Iran or any of its proxies were responsible. But President Trump dismissed the possibility of Iranian involvement. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz pushing back, saying that President Trump knows Iran is responsible, and he blamed DOGE cuts for leaving the U.S. vulnerable to cyber attacks.
The president criticizing two Republican holdouts, Senators John Cornyn and Tom Tillis, for blocking his choice for Attorney General Todd Blanche. They say they won't vote for Blanche until they get written confirmation that the so-called anti-weaponization fund and IRS immunity plan is dead. Defense attorneys for Gannon Van Dyke say criminal charges should be dropped against the special operations soldier. He allegedly bet on Nicolas Maduro's seizure in January. His lawyers say that does not qualify as insider trading. Former Congressman George Santos was fined $35,000 Friday for betting against his attendance at President Trump's State of the Union. You're listening to ABC News.
This report is sponsored by IBM. A new study from the IBM Institute for Business Value reveals a growing disconnect between executive perceptions of AI progress and employee experience. Executives report AI-driven role change at twice the rate employees experience it. 81% say AI skills are rewarded, yet 43% of employees lack employer AI training, and 50% say AI obscures contributions. Aparna Nair, IBM's Chief Talent, Leadership, and Culture Officer.
The organizations that will lead in this era won't just be the ones with the best AI. They'll be the ones that invest equally in their workforce, making it clear when to trust or challenge the system, strengthening how managers coach decisions, and rewarding employees for using AI responsibly, not just using it quickly.
The study finds that organizations most likely to stand out redesign workflows, enable managers to coach effectively, clarify decision-making, and align incentives alongside AI adoption. These organizations could see up to 73% higher revenue growth and an 11% operating margin advantage over their peers. To learn more, visit ibm.com/IBV.
Spanish authorities say most of the nearly 60,000 people who tried to breach a Spanish enclave in North Africa have returned to Morocco. ABC's Marcus Moore has the details from the foreign desk.
Some 50,000 people rushing the border into the Spanish territory of Ceuta this week, many of them swimming 3 miles from Morocco in northern Africa to reach the enclave. Images show people emerging from the water in wetsuits, others on boats, and climbing through holes in the fencing and then sprinting into the streets of the city. Officials said at least 67 people died in the incident that prompted Spanish authorities to deploy the military.
There was an alarming AI security breach as Anthropic admits that its chatbot Claude deviated from its program and hacked other entities. ABC's Trevor Ault has details.
The company says it frequently tests its AI models in simulations sealed off from the internet. But a review found 3 incidents where a partner testing company accidentally allowed Claude internet access, and the models used it to gain unauthorized access to the real systems of 3 different organizations by using basic techniques such as exploiting weak passwords. This comes a week after the company behind ChatGPT, OpenAI, revealed 2 of its models went rogue in a similar incident.
FIFA's president, Gianni Infantino, said he is dropping its controversial plan to sell stakes in future soccer competitions to private investors. I'm Brian Clark, ABC News.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Plumbers, today will be a good day. You will be profitable. Your clients will be nice. No one will stand over you and tell you how to fix the thing they actually hired you to fix. You will also feel at peace after switching to Progressive, America's #1 commercial auto insurer. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, #1 commercial auto insurer from the NAIC's 2024 National Premium Data.
Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement. Your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Welcome back, everyone, to hour number 2 of Straight Talk on Retirement. And as always, we're going to kick off the second hour with our smart choices about your healthcare segment.
Because you care, we talk Medicare. And just as a reminder, we have some more text to get through when we're done with our Medicare segment. So keep them rolling in. We're going to get to everyone today. And we appreciate you, all the texts and calls. But first, let's talk a little bit about Robin. And, Robin is 54 years old and collects Social Security. And Robin was diagnosed with cirrhosis in...
Sclerosis. Sclerosis? Sclerosis. Anyways, continue, please.
She was diagnosed in 2024, and she was unable to continue working and has been on disability since that diagnosis. And, everything was going fine, and the other day she received a Medicare card in the mail saying that she had been opted onto Medicare and would be beginning September 1st. And, this was all very confusing because she's already on her spouse's plan through their employer. And the spouse's plan, it can cost about $500 for both of them. So naturally, Robin wanted some clarification. Number one, why was she enrolled in Medicare when she was already on her husband's plan? And can she opt out? And if so, will she be penalized later? Not unreasonable concerns at all.
Sure. So first of all, why did she receive her Medicare card?
Well, once you're enrolled in Social Security disability for 24 months, in many cases, you automatically qualify for Medicare Part A and Part B, and most times you're going to be auto-enrolled. You can opt out of Part B if you have other credible coverage or employer coverage through her husband or a spouse. Part A is free for most people. Most people have
40 covered quarters.
So they've accrued enough working covered quarters to receive that premium free. But Part B is $202.90. So Robin had some options, but she wanted to know what they were. She didn't want to make a misstep because she's heard a lot about the penalty, and she was automatically enrolled in it. So she's like, wait a minute, before I do something, let me go ahead and give Frank and Rob a call.
Sure.
So she can opt out of Part B and stay on her husband's insurance. There is no penalty so long as she has that coverage through her husband's employer. She can opt out of Part A. Her husband's coverage remains primary, and Part A would be secondary for inpatient hospital only. Or she can keep A and B and transition to Medicare and come off of her husband's plan completely. So she's not without options. She's got a bunch of them here. Let's talk a little bit about coming onto Medicare Advantage versus the supplement. Her husband's premium, if Robin elects Medicare, will drop from $500 to $200. So, but Medicare Part B premium is $202.90.
Okay.
So they're going to lose $300 on the husband side of the premium, the work plan, but they're also going to pick up the Part B premium. But that's also going to create about $100 in savings a month. And if we extrapolate that out, it's $1,200 for the year.
Okay.
So also, her max out of pocket would drop from $10,000 on her husband's plan to a more manageable $2,500 to $3,500, depending on what Advantage plan she picked. So there would be $100 savings off the top in premium, and there would also be a max out of pocket massive reduction of almost 2/3, again, depending on what plan she chose. Now, if she went with a supplement, say she went with Plan G, that would lower her deductible to $287 for the year. So she'd pay that deductible, and that would be that.
Sure.
But on the other side of that, it would increase. In addition to paying the Part B premium, she would also have to pay a premium for the supplement itself, which would be about $200. So in example A with Medicare Advantage, she was saving $100 a month by coming off her husband's plan.
Right.
In going to a supplement, it would cost more than $100. She'd pay her Part B premiums and then another $200 a month on top of that.
So they would be paying more. They'd be paying $100 more per month for coverage.
Exactly. So it's basically a choice between supplement it's going to be about $1,200 more than what they're paying now a year, or they go with an Advantage plan, it's going to be about $1,200 less than what they're paying right now.
But what it does really sound like is just because Robin's husband's coverage has a very high deductible, that if Robin is utilizing a lot of care, which just because you're on disability does not necessarily mean that you are consuming a lot of health care, we could lower their expenses if she has high usage. So it really just comes down to how much health care are you consuming, and at what price point does it make real sense to conduct the change. In Robin's case, she was really intrigued by saving the $1,200 a year, and also the max out of pocket, as you said, comes down from $10,000 all the way down to $2,500 to $3,500, depending. And then because Robin's husband's going to be on an individual plan through his employer, it brought the premium down for him, but it also brought the deductible down for him. And really, if you were thinking about it family-wise, it kind of brought the deductible down for everyone, because we went from $10,000 with a family, with a husband and wife on the employer plan, to husband on the employer plan at a $5,000 deductible, and wife, Robin, on a Medicare Advantage plan. $2,500 a month, $2,500 max out of pocket, bringing the full family max out of pocket to $7,500.
Much more manageable.
Right. Now, they don't get to both work towards that number together like they did when they were on the plan together. Robin has to meet her own max out of pocket. Her husband would have to meet his own in the event that, they were consuming a lot of care, but it still brings down the overall price, which is nice.
But one thing we didn't discuss, and we brought this up to Robin, was that if she did go with the supplement, she would need to stack that with a Part D drug plan,
which could also have another premium associated.
Correct.
With it. So
correct. Depending on again what you're taking and what tier those drugs fall into, will depend ultimately on if you pay a premium or if you don't.
And I think that is an important thing to consider. So the way that we like to approach this is: are either of these, if you were choosing Medicare, which of these plans would you consider? So which one do you like? Robin said she really liked the Medicare Advantage plan. Well, now we can compare Medicare Advantage to her husband's current coverage, or her current coverage through her husband's employer, and then we can decide, does it make sense to come off the plan? Now, Robin would always have the opportunity to go back on the plan if she really wanted to, or if she lost her Social Security disability. That's also a choice. That would also be an opportunity. So she's not losing anything by making the decision to jump over to Medicare if she would like.
No, you're never losing anything, and it never costs anything to come in and see what your options are, and to make sure, like in Robin's case, what really triggered her to give the office a call was that she was automatically enrolled, given her unique situation, and just wanted to know, hey, can I opt out of this, being I didn't opt in, and are there consequences to that? Totally reasonable concerns.
Right. And so for Social Security disability, once you've been on it 24 months, you are automatically enrolled in Medicare. Many people that elected Social Security and maybe have coverage elsewhere, so they did not take Medicare, you are automatically enrolled in Medicare. You're going to receive a card. Everyone on Social Security, be it Social Security disability or just Social Security income, is automatically enrolled in Part A, and you can't get rid of that, unfortunately. If you want to get rid of Part B, like let's say Robin decided she wanted to stay with her husband's coverage, she can decline the Medicare Part B and reapply later. You're not going to see a penalty as long as you have qualified coverage. But unfortunately, you can never get rid of that Part A once you take Social Security, or once you're enrolled in Social Security for long enough.
Great news for Robin was she worked enough quarters to where it was premium free. So even though she couldn't opt out of it, it didn't cost her anything, and it operated as a secondary to her husband's insurance. And like you said, as soon as she comes off of her husband, she'll be given that special election period to choose whatever plan she likes.
Awesome. Thanks. Did we receive any Medicare questions while or health insurance questions during our segment?
We did not, but we do have some. Holdovers from.
Let's get to a few of those holdovers.
And our first text from the last hour says, "I am a big fan of simple IRAs with my small business. Added my wife of 10 years, and her simple IRA adds $250,000 to our retirement funds. It also cut our income for those years and made it much easier to fund the Roth for her. Love the discussion."
Oh, that's awesome. Somebody really took advantage of the opportunity. We happen to use a simple IRA for our practice as well. And I think for small business owners, it's for companies with under 100 employees, correct?
Yes.
It is an interesting alternative to consider. Most people think that as a small business, your only option is 401k or nothing. But there are a variety of options, simple IRAs being one of them. The part that I happen to like a lot is that Dad, the way you say this is you only have to match the matchers. So the people that are actually making contributions, you are going to match those contributions. You have a few options as the employer as to how you match them over the course of time. But I think it's a great way, for one, to add benefits to not only employees but also to your family if they happen to be employed at your small business. But secondly, so you're adding value to the positions available at your job, at your company. Also, you're creating some higher contribution opportunities for yourself as well, because if you only have access to an IRA, those limits are less than half of what simple IRA contributions are.
Yeah, honey, let me take a minute here, if I may, and talk about the employer contribution.
Yes.
There are basically two formulas that are available to you as the employer with a simple IRA. One is a 2%, we'll call that a safe harbor contribution, which means that whether any eligible employee that is enrolled in the plan, should enroll in the plan, they get an automatic 2%, whether they put money in or not.
Okay.
The other formula is basically it's a 3 out of 5 years formula. The IRS requires that as an employer, you match an employee's contribution 100% up to 3%
of their compensation, right?
In 3 of 5 years. You're going to go as low as 1% in the other 2 years, but you have to do 3% in 3 of the 5 years.
So it gives you a little flexibility as the employer. It also gives you some higher contribution limits as the employer.
Well, it's great because, again, what we're looking at here is the eligible employee payroll amount. I think it's like 260 some thousand.
Oh, is the peak.
Exactly.
Is the limit on the 3%.
Exactly. So what you're looking at is you're talking about potentially $6,000 to $7,000 employer contribution,
Mm-hmm.
and then an employee contribution of up to, I believe it's $15,000
Yeah. Why don't we take a look instead of estimating?
with the catch-up provision. But again, it can be
Yeah.
rather significant. And again, you don't have the same limitations you do under a 401k, where the top third is restricted to the percentage they can put in by what the bottom 2/3 does.
Simple as 17, I believe.
And then you also are involved in what they call the family aggregation rules. Like if you have a nepotism company like mine,
Right.
with myself and my daughter, our contributions aren't aggregated and actually they're basically restricted to what the other 2/3 does under a 401k. So you don't have those rules. And for many of this really happened many years ago, but many of our clients have converted from 401k plans to simples.
So here's some extra simple data. Rob is correct. In general, the contribution limit for a simple is $17,000. However, if you work for an employer with 25 or fewer employees, you may be able to contribute up to $18,100 instead of $17,000. And the I was trying to look to see what the catch-up is. The catch-up is $4,000 if you are over 50, but if you are between 60 and 63, the catch-up is $5,250.
So that's great. So you're really looking at a situation where your contribution totals between the employer and the employee are very similar,
right,
to a 401k, but you don't have the same filing requirements,
sure, and also
or
the
participation requirements.
And the other nice thing for the employees is that the simple IRA, it is an individual retirement account. So that account is now, from the minute they put money in and you make a contribution as well, or from the minute they put their contribution in, that money is theirs.
It's vested.
It's vested, but also that account is theirs. So unlike with a 401k where you have a whole group together and then everyone takes their piece, they can see their, the employee can see their piece, but you're in one aggregated pot. With a simple IRA, each employee has their own individual account, which means if they decide to leave you or you decide to leave them, they control their account. They can move it as they wish, but it doesn't stay as part of the group.
And they don't have to, unlike a 401k where the assets actually have to be, the investments are turned into cash
and rolled out
and
somewhere.
then moved over to a IRA or to
another 401k or
another
something.
employer's plan. That's right.
Yeah, they could actually do what's an in-kind transfer, which means if they decided, well, I don't want the simple anymore, I just want a traditional IRA now, I'm going to move it over, they can actually move the investments that they created. And in some cases, depending upon how you set up your simple and with whom, may give your employees more options than just working with one fund company.
Yeah, I love the idea because what we do is, and other simple plan sponsors do, is at the beginning, basically in October, November, we say this is what we expect the contribution for the employer to be next year. And we're always doing 3% because we want to max out, and our employees have an opportunity to take Aaron and Jeff's money.
Well, I try to let everyone know when we talk about compensation at the end of the year what their new contribution limit, what their new contribution should be. They'd like to take advantage of all of the money that we're offering.
Very nice.
Try.
Why not?
That's right.
And our next texter writes, given how thorough and complicated some of these issues are, is it unreasonable to think that a coaching session could last a lot longer than just an hour?
We keep our coaching sessions to an hour. However, that doesn't mean that the coaching stops. I think usually we're able to accomplish most of our most things within the hour, or bring us to our next meeting, which means sometimes we have follow-up meetings within a week, 2 weeks, a month. Sometimes it's the initial coaching session we're having with current clients that's getting us on track to make decisions. If we decided that we needed longer than an hour, we've definitely blocked longer time than that if necessary. For example, in a couple of weeks, we have a client that is the power of attorney for more than one of our other clients, and they like to kind of do everything at once. So we blocked off 2 hours so we could essentially have multiple coaching sessions at once.
Yeah, again, I would suggest that initial coaching sessions really are to uncover all the issues that are out there that either our clients have questions about.
Well, I guess this would be a prospective client.
Right, perspectives, and or what are the component parts that we're really looking for to develop that game plan for them and put that up on the board. When we get into more complex calculations,
that's usually not something we're doing. We'll do a little bit in front of the clients, but usually what we need is access to all of our tools, in the sense that especially if we're working with current clients and we're looking at capital gains, we need to sit down and look at your account specifically, look at the investments inside of that account specifically, what those ramifications are. For example, when we had to open the show, when we talked about a client meeting that we had, prompted me to go back and do some work and then generate an email. It'll probably generate, we already have another coaching session scheduled because we reach out to many of our clients 4 times a year. So in this case, we'll just pick it up at the end of the year and make some decisions. We know what's on deck. So we try to personalize everything to the point where we're going to stay on track with you. So if we need another coaching session, that's what we're here for.
We're on the payroll.
That's right.
Absolutely. And our next texter writes, speaking of Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, and even brokerage accounts, when do you take profits from ETFs, mutual funds, or even individual stocks? Does it happen on a periodic basis, or do you just leave it in there for the long term? Do you also keep a cash reserve within each one of those accounts to take advantage of downturns? Excellent question.
So we always keep a cash position in each account. That's part of a well-balanced portfolio. In some environments, we hold larger cash positions either for safety or for potentially for some investment later. For example, towards the beginning of this year, when the Iran conflict broke out, we added extra cash to our clients' accounts that were taking distributions. So in the event that pullback lasted longer than anticipated, we wouldn't have to worry about client income for hopefully the duration. Turned out that lasted a little bit shorter than we had planned, but the clients were going to be using those funds within the next 6 months anyway. So,
it's not unusual for the modeling that we do, as well as the folks that we work with, to hold anywhere from a 2 to a 4% cash component as a part of the model. Answer that second question was about
taking profits.
It's easy to do in retirement accounts because there are no income tax implications. So we are involved in semi-annual rebalancing of our client portfolio. So we are taking profits, whether it's an ETF model or a mutual fund model, whether it's a mixed model. It's important to take profits, not only to realize them, but in many cases, especially as Aaron was mentioning, for those of our clients who are actually taking income from these accounts, to have cash available for income purposes, but also in many cases to have cash available for planned expenditures.
Sure. So not just ongoing income needs, but when the bigger expenses come up, we have already set the cash aside. So,
and that's really a big deal in our planning. I mean, we're querying our clients at every meeting
if there's any upcoming expenses.
Right. Is there income flow meeting your needs, number one, and then two, what's in the future and when should we plan for it and how much money will we need and what is the timing on that? That puts us in a position where we can actually get mechanical. We want to get mechanical. We don't want to be, as I like to call, animal spirits driven.
Right. We don't want,
when it comes to buying or selling, et cetera, or being subject to the news cycle.
Right. We want to do things on a consistent basis because that seems to produce the best returns.
Absolutely.
And our next texter writes, as I approach retirement, should I become less aggressive in my retirement accounts?
Well, I guess it first depends upon how aggressive you currently are. I mean, it's interesting because I think Dad, you always say this, which is people balance risk in their own ways. So sometimes when we are looking at portfolio construction, clients bring in, prospective clients bring in 401ks. Maybe they have brokerage accounts, IRA accounts that they've rolled over from other 401ks, and they are all modeled vastly differently. So you could see all equities in the 401k and maybe all cash in the brokerage account. And that is one way of balancing risk. I have a risky account on the one side. I have all cash, which I feel is safe on the other side. versus all of my accounts have a little bit of everything, and I've kind of balanced everything out that way. We also see, I think very frequently, in talking with prospective clients, I'm an X type of investor. I'm a conservative investor.
Everybody's a conservative investor.
Or I'm an aggressive
But they're not.
Or I'm an aggressive investor.
How many times have we sat in a meeting where someone said, I'm a conservative investor?
And what does the portfolio look like?
Portfolio says something quite different.
That's right. It could be almost all equities in some cases. Even funnier the other way is we work with many small businesses as well, not just families. And we just brought on a small business several months ago as a simple plan. They already had a simple. They wanted us to take it over. And I was talking with each of the employees separately. And then I went back to the employer. We were talking about his simple IRA. And I said, wow, do you have assets elsewhere because you're relatively conservative here? And he goes, no, I wanted it to be all equity. So turns out he was far more conservative than he had originally thought he was in the simple IRA. So I think, first of all, in general, we are looking to create a mix of equities to bonds and cash that gives us the best opportunity to hit our return target. So that, Dad, another way that you like to say that is if you want to live off the interest and the earnings of your capital, you don't want to deplete that original principal.
And keep up with the rate of inflation.
The current market, even with interest rates having risen from zero, we're still in an environment where we need to be, where we're looking to be about 70% equities, 30% bonds and cash to have the opportunity to generate a return that's going to keep your portfolio in place for a long period of time. So it's hard to answer that question in the sense that we don't know where you started. But
or how long he has to go till retirement. Like if it's 10 years, it's a little bit different conversation than if it's 2 years.
That's right. But we also have to, a lot of people think the time horizon that you're looking at is retirement. But the reality is that isn't your time horizon. Your time horizon is how long you need to be able to live off of that money.
You could be retired longer than you were working.
That's right. So your time horizon to retirement might be only 2 years. That means we need a game plan. That doesn't necessarily mean we need to change an investment strategy, because we could have 30 plus years to go.
Right. I've always used an 8% model.
But we want to get to about 8%.
Right. That's our target. And the reason is that we recommend that our clients adhere to a maximum of a 4% withdrawal rate based upon their asset size. We then consider taxes, 20%, which is really 1%, and inflation historically over time 2 to 3%.
Can you explain why taxes being 20% is really 1%?
Well, it is. It just comes out that way.
It comes out to be 1%.
Yeah, 1% interest, basically.
Got you.
And so we use that. We add that component in. So you're adding 4 plus 4, that's 8.
That means that in this example, your portfolio would remain essentially level. Now, the inflation piece is hard to gauge because you're keeping up with the rate of inflation, but you're not actually seeing asset erosion. You're just seeing that everything, we've all seen this. You go to the grocery store, everything's more expensive. So we're attempting to equalize that issue by outpacing what inflation does on an annual basis.
Yeah, at the end of the day, what we have found, and especially me, I've been doing this a little longer than Aaron, but what we found over the last 20 plus years is that the magic formula is funding to your current expense level, what you're spending every month. We want to fund to 100% of your current spending. If we do that using a 4% withdrawal rate from capital, including your other fixed income sources, what we have found is that our clients, their portfolios are inflation protected. Adjusted, protected. They're not asking us for more money. We're not increasing their income flows. We're keeping them the same because that's their lifestyle. They make their own changes, and what occurs is that over time,
their 4% withdrawal actually starts to become less
because their portfolios are growing, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And
Or
they go into the safety zone, the
Right.
deeper and deeper and deeper, and that's really where I think the confidence in retirement is.
Right, because now you not only have confidence of your cash flow, but you have confidence in additional buffer if anything arises that you either need, want, or must take advantage of. So with all that, why don't we take our first break of this hour?
So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement right after these brief messages.
Late to book your next vacation or quick last-minute getaway with the travel experts at AAA Travel. AAA Travel makes vacation planning easy and stress-free with amazing deals on cruises, all-inclusive resorts, escorted tours, and family vacations. Take advantage of their great summer deals. Trips are booking up quickly, so book now to lock in better pricing and availability. Visit your local AAA Travel office or go online, AAA.com/travel.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
But nothing can be hotter this summer than a Dogtown pizza. Hey, Josh here, and we're talking 425 degrees hot. 12 different varieties, and a whole bunch of fresh toppings. Try the bacon, the 4-meat, or head to the garden for a veggie or tomato basil garlic.
Oh, you want to get hot?
Try the hot chicken pizza on for size. Sizzling. This summer's already hot, but make it even hotter with some Dogtown Pizza. Every local grocery store in town and at dogtownpizza.com.
How do you separate estate planning from elder law? You don't, because they're so intertwined. Let's face it, we're all getting older, and you need to make these decisions today, whether it's for your parents, for yourself, or for future generations. Rudy Beck, Jay Lennox, Caroline Stolzer, and now it's Matthew Furr have been navigating these important decisions for more than 50 years. Beck, Lennox, Stolzer, Estate Planning, and Elder Law. Call them 636-946-7899 or beckelderlaw.com. You can thank me later.
This is Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
We're back with more Straight Talk on Retirement. We've got about 25 minutes to go. Our text line, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the Filling Up text line.
And our next texter writes, how do you figure out how much money you need to retire if your pensions and Social Security is enough to cover it?
Well, then it sounds like you already figured out how much you needed to retire, right? I mean, that's fabulous, right? Fixed income covering over all of your needs.
Well, let's tell folks the easy way, so you don't have to actually sit on an Excel spreadsheet and pull out your bills and do all the whatever.
Just add up all of your current income. If that's paychecks, if you're receiving money from rental income, if you have side jobs, whatever the case is, add up all of the income that is coming in
each month.
Then let's increase that number for taxes. We like to use 20% as a standard. However, if you happen to have significantly more income, you might want to increase that number. Significantly less than average income, you might want to reduce that number, but 20 is a good starting point. That's 15% federal, 5% state taxes if you're in Missouri. If you're in Illinois, you might want to only use 15% because you have no state tax on your distributions.
Not yet.
Right. Hey, we might not have it soon enough. But anyway, so take all of your monthly income, multiply it by 20%.
120%.
1.2% to get what it would be with taxes included. And then just as our texter wrote, subtract all of your fixed income out. So take out your Social Security, take out your pension, if you have rental income, take that out too, if it's consistent and you plan to rely upon it for the long term, or it will be consistent for the long term. Whatever the number is, if it's a positive number, that's your deficit, which means that's the number you have to fill in retirement because you are going to lose it when you lose your paycheck, and it won't be replaced by fixed income. If it's a negative number, that means you have more income in retirement than currently working. So I would ask, why are you still working?
Rockstar.
Right.
Maybe for health care.
That could be.
Maybe
right.
one of the spouses is too young to get on the COBRA and to immediately go to Medicare.
The negative number could quickly become a very positive number if you have to add in the extra expense of health care.
Now, if you're, again, as Aaron was saying, if you're not retired and you're trying to figure out, hey, am I even close?
Right.
Take a look at how much is being deposited into your checking account every month from your paycheck and other sources. Then figure out on average how much are you actually moving from your checking account to your saving.
Oh, so is there any excess?
Right. That will tell you, are you consuming? And a lot of our clients, they're consuming all of their pay because they're also doing pre-tax savings, which is fine.
Right. You already saved before the check got to you.
Yes. So now you have your bogey number, and you do what Aaron says. You increase that by 20%. You subtract your fixed sources. Boom.
Now, if you need to, so our texter sounds like he doesn't have to take the final step, which is if you have a positive number, which means you have a deficit every month that isn't being filled by Social Security, pension, or other sources, you're going to multiply that number by 12. So why don't we just use a nice, easy example, which is,
let's say it's $2,000
a month. That means you need $24,000 a year.
Or $600,000 of capital.
And the way we got to the $600,000 is we want to divide the $24,000 by 4%.
Right.
Or you can multiply it by 25%. Either way, you get to the same place, which is you need $600,000 of capital in order to generate $2,000 a month of income.
Using the 4% withdrawal rate. And then you'll be, as we like to say, rock stars.
That's right.
And our next texter writes, how surprised were you that they did not cut rates at the latest Fed meeting? Also, I thought we were supposed to be getting cuts. Now they're talking about raising it in the fall.
So, I was not surprised they didn't cut rates. I was actually a little bit more surprised that they didn't raise rates. I thought that we were going to see a 25% basis point increase.
They should have done
Wednesday.
this. They should have done that about a year ago.
You mean your argument is they never should have cut to begin with, really,
right.
If you're talking about going back a year.
When we look at the purpose of
rate adjustments
with the Federal Reserve, it comes down to something real simple here. The Fed reduces rates as a way to make borrowing less expensive all across the board, not just corporations, but for individuals. Which
and
is supposed
the
to
government,
right? And which is supposed to energize the economy. The economy is already hot. It's been hot. It's not slowing down. If they want to slow the economy down, try to reduce spending, i.e., which causes inflation, you raise rates. Our president says, "I want lower rates because I want to try to expand spending."
Right.
Fed is nope. Inflation's over 2%. Can't do it. So they come up with a lot of lame excuses, but the bottom line is they should have raised. They're always late to the game, whether it's raising rates or lowering rates. I wouldn't hang my hat on making investment decisions on what the Fed may or would or could or would do.
And really what we see that frequently, which is we see a Fed meeting, we see an initial reaction to the Fed decision. And I think this is more modern times. Now we saw a violent response. Wednesday was a pretty down day. It almost seemed as though Mr. Warsh was holding the market up with his words while he was during the press conference. You saw a nice rally, and then as soon as he stopped speaking, I guess his words sunk in, and we saw a collapse again. And then Thursday was a massive rally. In a lot of the places that took the largest hits. It was one of the biggest days in multiple years. So we're seeing very violent responses.
We had a great day on Friday.
Right. So
hello.
In many cases, the initial response from the Fed is not going to be the long-term response of the market. I thought the more interesting thing, and not to get too into the weeds, is that Fed didn't cut rates, and the long end of the interest rate curve still went up.
Which is good, by the way.
Or not good.
No, it is good. No, it is good. When it goes down, it's inverted, and that's bad.
Well, that's true, but it going up kind of means that the Fed is not in control of the long end of the curve anymore.
Well, they're also not punishing long-term investors, which is not a bad deal, especially if you do own fixed income instruments like bonds, which many of our clients do.
Sure.
And when interest rates go down, the value of bonds goes up, and obviously it goes the opposite way if interest rates
Which
go
means you're
up.
going to see a decline in the market value of the bonds that you're currently holding. But at the moment, we're seeing rates going up. So
Here's here at least for me, the underlying base economy that we have is strong. It is
very strong.
Very strong. And therefore, the biggest thing you should worry about is a recession, which in my mind is off the table. There's no recession coming. Eventually it'll come. Don't know what day it'll be, but I don't think it's going to be in the near future. What's gonna deep six this market?
I think those are two separate things, though, right? Because you can have an earnings, you could have a market recession, like a Main Street recession, without a market recession, and vice versa.
Well, if the markets recede, Fed's going to lower rates.
That is
hard
to argue. There will be quite a bit of public pressure to do so.
I mean, the bottom line is the Feds aren't supposed to watch the market. Of course they do.
Well, it's interesting.
Of
I
course
mean,
they do.
not to get into a conversation about the Fed, but they have the dual mandate that everyone talks about is really to counter purposes, right? We want price stability and maximum employment. Well, when you have maximum employment, that means the economy is doing very well. Usually you see prices rise there. Well, what's the only way to bring prices down is to increase rates. So we now have price stability, and you no longer have full maximum employment. So it's a difficult needle that the Fed has to thread on a regular basis. And like you said, Dad, unfortunately, they have the tools they use they're not forward looking. They are when they're data driven. The data comes from the past.
Late to the game.
They usually, unfortunately, they are late to the game. And now the Fed has finally become, and maybe it'll be different in this era. I think it's interesting. The Fed has been subjected to the thing that we're all subjected to, which is constant communication. If we look back to like the Greenspan era, the CNBC would be talking about how thick his briefcase was based on if he was going to raise or cut rates. And now every Fed decision is almost foregone because every Fed chair talks every day, and so does and our past Fed chair did pretty regularly. So it's interesting to see how the dynamics change, and I think that's something that we're kind of watching what the dynamics of the Fed against the rest of the market are doing long term, because that role's been changing over time.
Yeah. What the conclusion that this should lead you to is that the markets are uncertain. The decisions made by the human beings that are on the Federal Reserve are uncertain.
Right.
Therefore, there's only one thing certain.
Your
getting
choices.
invested, staying invested.
I was going to say your decisions.
Right. Because missing the up days in the market is worse than missing the down days. And we do have to take our last break of the hour. We're going to be coming back with our last segment. So do us a favor. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back right after these short messages.
Lauren, can I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
If your parents were buying a home tomorrow, would you represent them any differently than one of your clients?
Not a chance. And when I say that, I mean I treat my clients exactly like I'd treat my parents. Same honesty, same advice, same negotiation. Every client gets the same service.
Okay, second question. If one of your closest friends called you and said, I found a house, I'm in love with it, but you knew it was a bad decision, what would you do?
I've already done it before. I tell them no, don't buy it. My job isn't to sell people houses. It's to help them make good decisions. And sometimes that means they don't get to buy anything that day.
That's exactly why I've sent my friends and family to Lauren for years.
I mean, It's simple. Buying and selling a house, it's a big deal. And people deserve to have someone who's willing to tell them what they need to hear and not just what they want to hear.
Exactly. If you already know Lauren from listening every week, then you already know the kind of person she is. When it's time to make your move, give Lauren Risley Realty a call at 314-775-0684.
This is KTRS St. Louis, the Big 550, and KTRS.com.
When you go to the dentist, you actually want to be seen by the dentist. When you go to Dr. Bowen, his bedside manner is right there. That's why he's been dubbed Dr. Velvet Hands, with its teeth whitening, teeth cleaning, Invisalign, and yes, dental implants. When you go to corporate dentists, you meet with the finance person. Not at Dr. Bowen. You're meeting with the dentist himself, who can help you every single step of the way. So for all of your dental needs, including implants, Dr. Bowen. 2 locations in South County and in North County. Bowen Dental Care, or simply securedentures.com.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talking Retirement on the Big 550, KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, welcome back to the show. We've got about 10 minutes to go, so let's
go.
Let's go, baby.
And our next texter writes more of a comment. Love listening to you guys, especially the way you and Aaron play off each other, Jeff. You guys are like peanut butter and jelly. You praise each other. You compliment each other. You disagree at times, but you are 2 rock stars. Love listening to your advice. Long time listener.
Thank you, but when
That was
can
so kind.
That was really nice. When can I send her to her room?
In about
If
10
you
minutes.
pay for it. No. See, you
I have to
ruined
send
my
her a room
joke.
so she can take care of the Roth conversion.
If you
okay.
are sending me to my, you can send me to my room if you pay the mortgage for it.
Sounds good.
I'll appreciate that.
What's our next one, Rob?
So I can do Roth conversions.
We just sold a commercial property for $650,000. We close in 1 month.
Oh, that's awesome.
What is the best way to shield some of that from capital gains?
That's a good question.
Well, that's a good one. First of all, we don't know what the actual gain is involved in it, but
Well, why don't we just, let's say $650,000 for fun.
okay. So I would certainly look to do 2 things almost immediately. Number one is that, are you making the maximum? If you have a retirement plan, are you making the maximum contribution to it? If not, load up the wheelbarrow, baby.
Right, and are you
Maximize that for yourself. Is your spouse doing it in hers? It's if you have a
Right.
spouse, etc.
if you have an HSA, any
Right.
place there is a tax shelter that you already have available to you, are you taking advantage of it?
Maximum advantage.
Maximum advantage. Let's do that first. That's easy.
And number 2 is, if you are charitably inclined, I would look at setting up a donor advised fund.
We talked about that at the beginning of the show.
Well, as an example, let's assume that you're somebody that's obviously successful. You sold your property,
Got $650,000 of gain.
and you don't have a mortgage. You're not itemizing your deductions. Well, guess what? If you put in over $32,000 into the DAF, guess what? Woohoo! You'll be
get
able
to
to itemize.
itemize.
That's right. So I'll use an example of a client of mine. Sold his business. I said, "Are you charitable?" He said, "Yes." I said, "How much are you giving your church and other associated charitable organizations?" He said, "We're giving away about $10,000 a year." I said, "Great."
Let's pre-fund 10 years of that.
Amen. So we put 220. We talked to his accountant about it, said, "Woohoo, good idea." Put 120,000 in. He basically saved. He got tax deductions of 80-some thousand. Saved him about 30,000 in taxes.
So that's awesome. Also, and just like we talked about at the beginning of the show, the donor advised fund is really a vessel. So that means the 120 that went in, they got the deduction in that year up front, and now you can distribute the money at your discretion to 501c3 organizations. In our client's case, it was church, so he knew where to send it every year, but you can send it multiple places whenever you'd like, and you can also reinvest those funds, which means you'd have the opportunity to potentially be more charitable than you originally planned.
Yeah, most of the plan sponsors of these donor advised funds are the mutual fund companies.
Right. So you just want to take a look at ones that are user friendly to you, because you're going to have control to be able to make donations as you'd like.
Well, you're probably going to talk to your financial advisor.
That's a good idea as well.
Do that and help them set this up so that the transfers occur correctly. What's really neat is for several of them, their websites are great. They have a whole FAQ thing you can read about, but the cool part is also you can do these transfers in your pajamas.
Right. You get to make the decision of when, and also generally you don't even need the 501c3 number. You can look up the charity by name in a lot of cases, and they will already have the information loaded in for you.
And they will verify it's a 501c3 before they send the money out. So no muss, no fuss.
And so they're doing the legwork for you.
And the
which is
charity
cool.
knows exactly, and it's your name's on it. So they know where it's coming from.
We had 2 things on the list so far. Maximize your tax shelter opportunities through, if you have, retirement plans that you have yet to maximize contributions there for yourself, your spouse, donations or the donor advised fund. And then do you have any other suggestions? This also, it might be an excellent opportunity if you have some long-term capital losses that you'd like to harvest from any of your other investments. This
Good
might
idea,
be
babe.
the opportunity to say, like, I've been holding this for a while. Now I can take advantage of that. Let's do some offsets. But remember, long-term capital gains can offset long-term capital gains. Short-term offsets short-term. So you want to make sure you're actually selling long-term positions to offset those gains.
And you may have some already banked.
Right. That's another good point.
And you can wipe those out in one fell swoop.
Yep. Make sure you're chatting with the accountant as well, or whomever is keeping a record of that for you, so you can optimize that, or you don't have to donate or sell too much. You want to figure out how much you've got some in reserves potentially. And if you're working with an advisor, we have tools that can create some tax harvesting opportunities for you in the long term, which might mean that's something that you want to take a look at with your advisor as well. Unfortunately, I have to be a little cryptic about that, but
Sure.
there are other investment tools that can help you generate losses to offset your capital gains.
Yes.
And our next texter writes, "Good morning, gang. Really love the show. My question is, I have some stock that I would like to gift to my grandchildren. Pros and cons of doing so."
It's kind of easy one.
Don't do it yet.
Don't do it yet. That's right. If you have embedded long-term capital gains, wait until death.
Right. You want to...
Because they step up the fair market value. Those gains are wiped out, and the kids get it at whatever the fair market value. If you do it today, they inherit it as your basis.
Right. So if you want to be charitable, or if you want to gift to your grandchildren now, we suggest that you gift cash
Yes.
or your time. If you have appreciated securities, just designate your grandchildren as the beneficiary of those, because one, they will receive more because they won't owe taxes, which is much better than having them take over the tax. Unless they are in a zero tax bracket, though, right?
Well, if you're in a gifting nature at this point, you're probably also charitably inclined.
Sure.
Think about it this way.
That's clever.
Appreciated securities should be gifted to charitable organizations because they don't pay capital gains when they make the sale of that appreciated security. Human beings should get cash.
In life.
At death,
it still might be the same, though.
At death, it makes sense to give appreciated securities to other humans that you love because they step up the fair market value. Use an example. Let's say you bought a stock for $100. It's grown to $120. If you give it at your death, they get it at a basis of $120. If they sell it at $120, then they have no taxes. Alternatively, if you give it to them today, $100, they sell it at $120, they owe capital gains on.
So that's actually interesting. You made me think of something, which is if our texter wanted to give their grandchildren securities, why not donate the ones you currently have? You would get the deduction. You can rebuy those same securities and gift them to your children. If you wanted to gift them immediately, just buy them for them. They would have them right then at the current value.
Or just give them the cash and let them buy them.
Well, that's true too. But we have some grandmas and grandpas that like to, for example, they like Carnival cruises or Norwegian cruises, and they also get, extra benefits for owning the stock. So like they own the stock, they have it for their grandkids because they shared that memory together. I think that's nice.
Yes, but Carnival's not a carnival anymore. Okay.
I didn't. It was an example. My goodness.
What do they call them? Don't they call them now like bacteria traps or something?
No, I believe they were calling them plague ships.
Thank you.
Anyways.
Bacteria
traps.
That's great. And our last texter writes, if you are enrolled in a Medicare Advantage plan, can your provider, such as Aetna or United or Essence, drop you for any reason? Well, not for any reason, but you can be disenrolled if there's, say, a premium associated with any one of those policies and you fail to pay it. You can be disenrolled. You can also be disenrolled if the plan leaves the service area. Now,
if you leave the service area too.
If you leave the service area, if the plan leaves the service area, in either one of those cases, you'll be given a special enrollment period to pick a new plan. However, if you were disenrolled because you didn't pay the premium, that does not trigger another special enrollment period.
That's a very good point, but they can't disenroll you because you've had too many claims. They can't disenroll you because you called and complained to customer service. They're not allowed to do any of those things. So there are limitations, but there are ways that you can be dropped from your Medicare plan, Advantage or Supplement.
Or fraud.
And
fraud's a big, is always one you can get dropped.
Our very last texter sneaking in under the wire writes, my son just started work and has a newly contributable 401k plan. How much should he send them every month?
He should probably at least do the employer match.
5%.
Yeah, whatever. I would say at minimum what the employer match is. I like a 5% jumping off point. You don't want him to put himself in a position where he has to come to you for money because he put it into the 401k.
I'm going to go a little bit outside the box, and I'm going to say as much as possible.
Sounds good. And do us a favor, tune in next week here on the Big 550 KTRS with more Straight Talk on Retirement with Jeff, Aaron, and Rob. See you later.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Be listening next week at 9 for more Straight Talk on Retirement with your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus, on the Big 550 KTRS. Mizzou football.
The rushing touchdown, and Missouri extends the lead.
KTRS AM, FM 1061, K291CW.